Hello, hello, hello. Hooligan Soccer Podcast. I haven't even lost track of what game week it is. We have the Qooligan rocking a beer, which is always more appropriate, going to be less salty. And it seems normal programming has resumed. Qooligan, you are back on the West Coast, Champions
You
League,
think I'd be
MLS,
less salty.
and Premier League.
It's not going to happen.
Just gets saltier with age.
I have been up since 1 a.m. on the West Coast time. It is now 5 p.m. on the West Coast time. So I am tired. I have a beer. And there's so much to talk about. So
and you're talking soccer.
Let's get into this. Come on now.
It sounds like you were going to have a problem and complain there, but it sounds like all things are all right with the world now. Talking soccer, have a beer.
There's no complaining. I mean, what's to complain about?
Exactly. What is that?
I have the divine nectar. I have the beautiful game.
Yeah.
I have a somewhat handsome co-host. I mean, this is a good thing.
Well, I don't know where that third co-host is, but maybe they'll join us as well.
It's true. If you had shaved, I would have given you I would have upped you a little bit. But neither one of us is particularly good on the on the shaving front.
Monday afternoon. Here we go. So we are going to cover the MLS results that happened this past game week.
Such a good week.
Yeah.
Such a good week.
It was very good. You're right. Also going to touch on the Premier League as well. There were some really interesting results there. And then, of course, we've got the Champions League quarterfinals that kick off tomorrow as well. I also just want to make a little shout out. I know you were going to detest this, but I do want to say I am very ecstatic because it is Masters Week for all of those golf fans. The Masters is this week, and it's a very exciting time as well. So I'm going to be it's that time of year where I'm going to have split screens watching Formula One, soccer, and the Masters as well.
Sorry, I had to yawn there. What did you say, Masters?
The Masters, yes, indeed, yes. It's a very special time of year.
Would this be an inappropriate time, Gary, for me to reveal that I actually have a 7 handicap?
No, you don't. That's absolute bullshit. You do not have a 7 handicap. Really? Wow. We'll have to put that to the test then.
You think?
Yeah, I would like to see that.
I am the best partner to have in a doubles match play.
With the 7 handicap, yeah, I'd hope so. If you had a 7 handicap, there'd be some sandbagging going on.
The 3 is silent.
I was going to say exactly.
The 3 before it is silent. Just so
exactly
you know.
A 37 handicap. That probably sounds a little bit more realistic.
That's about right.
But anyway, back to the appropriate sport at hand. Just a little detour from that. So we had MLS action this weekend as well. I was stuck to watching last night. I was really getting in deep to the Miami-Toronto game, and it was a pretty dull affair, I have to say. I found that one. I did like Bernardeschi, who looked pretty good. Obviously, the former Italian, former Juventus player. He looked really good. Scored a really, really good goal against Miami.
That was a lovely goal.
It was a very good goal. Messi had his goal. Looked really passionate. Looked into it. He was driving. He really wanted to play and wanted to score. You can see it was wonderful to see.
No, he's not Ronaldoing this thing, man. He's into it.
No,
he's absolutely into it. And it's great to see the best player in the world, arguable, but but certainly the most, actually not dialing it in. And here's the thing. Miami, because they're still playing inside the CONCACAF Champions Cup, also starting this week on Tuesday.
Yes.
They have had these really intense weeks as a team where they are having to play 3 games in a 7-8 day period. And this is their 3rd string of doing it. This was the game that was in between the 2 cup games. And let's not forget, they lost their only cup game against LAFC. It's their first loss of 2025.
Wow.
And then you would think going up against Toronto with the worst road record in the MLS, 8 wins in their last 72 games. That's bad, Gary.
That is bad.
It's not quite Leicester bad, but it's bad. But we'll get more on Leicester bad later, ladies and gentlemen. No, it's not good. You would think this was it, and you have to think that Javier was going, okay, this one should be fairly easy. We'll put in the starters. We'll get 2 or 3 goals. We'll sub out. We'll do some nice little defensive, maneuvering. Maybe concede 1. All of a sudden, he's having to play his entire A team for 90 minutes.
He has to push them.
And he's got to go. And now the only advantage is, I believe,
they're playing in Miami.
Confirm this. I believe they're playing in Miami, so at least they don't have to
Yeah.
travel, which is a slight advantage. But still,
yes, that's a long way.
Still.
Yeah, that is true. I mean, and obviously they're going to be playing LAFC, who obviously
lost, and LAFC.
Lost, yeah.
Okay, can I just say one thing?
No, you cannot. Of course you can.
What the hell is happening in LA?
I agree with you. What the hell is happening in LA? It's like LA and Manchester are joined. They're sort of like conjoining cities all of a sudden in terms of sports. They just can't seem to win.
Well, that's very good. I did not make that connection, and the minute you said it, it was like fireworks in my brain. Because you're right. You're absolutely right. They were the twin darlings, right?
Yeah.
The white and the black on the blue and the red, and now they're just a terribly dull gray.
Yeah. It's not looking pretty. Well, particularly Galaxy. I mean, again, Galaxy. What did they?
They're in a league all their own.
Well, they're in real trouble. Hey, I mean,
they're the worst. They are the worst team in the league right now.
How do they get out of this? They've only got 2 points this season. This is real problems. This is not just a bad run of form. This is turning into a crisis.
Well, they're not doing it with their voluminous amounts of general allocation money. I can tell you that, of which they have zero.
They have no allocation money left to spend and spy their way out of trouble as well, do they? So,
which also I think really hints at. They're gonna they're gonna go one of two ways. They're just gonna chalk off the entire season, not worry about it. Try to evaluate what they have inside their system, right? So they've got their Ventura County offshoot, which got eliminated from the U.S. Open Cup. But yeah, they can evaluate what they've got there, see where they can go, and then I think, probably because they're LA Galaxy, they're going to try and make some big splash.
They'll spin their way out of it. They'll try and splash it out as well. And we saw this news that De Bruyne is becoming available. Obviously, he's going to be leaving Man City. I don't think he goes to Galaxy. I don't think
he'll go to Galaxy. He doesn't want to go. They are not in a position to sign anybody with any type of credibility. And De Bruyne still has game, and he knows it. And he may be a little slow. He may be a little that, but no, I'm telling you. I said it months ago. I'm holding to it now. He's going to San Diego.
San Diego. You've said this, and this rumor's been floating around. Yeah,
because they're strong. They're doing the business. Right. Their coach that they brought in has created a system. There's an identity there. They're playing vibrant, dynamic football, and De Bruyne can absolutely. If you watched that game against the Sounders, they carved up Sounders. De Bruyne making those passes, sick.
It would be very special. It would be special. And San Diego, who would have had Vancouver and San Diego at the top two of the Western Conference sort of this many games?
Not I.
It's a wonderful sort of poetic part of the game, isn't it? In terms of other picks as well, bouncing around the MLS, obviously I was really surprised to see. I was watching the highlights. I didn't watch this game, but I saw the highlights of Charlotte Nashville, and Nashville. You thought had this wrapped up all of a sudden in terms of like stats and sort of the shots and the possession. Well, the possession wasn't so hurt, but they had a lot of shots and a lot on target. And then last 5 minutes, Wolf Zaha with a penalty, and then that Gorno goal as well was it was entertaining. That's for sure.
I mean, Nashville did well. They ran out of steam. Charlotte always they tend to overperform at home. I mean, that Wilf penalty was. I mean, he did everything. He took the ball in, drew the penalty, converted the penalty. Classic Zaha, really. For anybody who's watched him at Palace knows that he's capable of this type of play. But it's not Zaha, in my opinion, that really makes the team. It's PL, right? That they've got. What Wilf does, and he's done this he's done this on many of the teams he's ever played with. He makes other players better. He becomes the focus of the defense. He's so dangerous. He's so sly. He does have an absolute mastery of shithousery. And so he can attract the defense's attention, creating the space for all the other players to shine. And really, it's his counterpart on the other side who is reaping the benefit, because he's the guy who's absolutely carving up all the defenses. And you're going to bear with me 1 second while they look at Biel. Excuse me, I said PL before, but it's not. It's Pep Biel.
Yeah.
Wonderful. He's having a great season.
Yeah.
He's having an absolute banger of a season.
Well, I mean, with 2 goals and 5 assists in 7 games, he's pretty. Yeah, he's pretty.
Right.
It's
I mean,
it's
that's
good.
a contribution a game. You don't get much higher than that. I mean, that's higher than Messi.
That is higher than Messi. That is indeed. Okay. Yeah. No, I thought Charlotte that was a really good result, and then I was also really pleased to see for Atlanta, see Almiron as well get on the score sheet finally as well. He's finally waking up and seems to be rocking and rolling there, although they only got the score draw as well.
It's nice to see Almiron on the scoreboard.
Mm-hmm.
They should be beating Dallas.
They should be. I mean, they had all the possession.
That's a disappointing result.
That is,
a disappointing result. Yeah, the 48,000 fans at Mercedes-Benz Stadium were not happy with what they saw there. Even though Mickey got his goal, that's fantastic. But they can't be pleased with this. This is Dallas.
Yeah, they should. Yeah, they should.
They're not. You know, they're a competent team, but they're not a very good team. So.
They should be rolling them over. But it was one of those classic cases where they got the early goal in the 16th or so minutes, I recall. And then they had all the possession, they dominated, they just couldn't get that second goal away and couldn't kill them off. And that's what happens, right?
That's the same thing that happened to Miami. That's the same thing that happens to a number of teams. And it just, you can dominate a lot of those, you can dominate in all those stats. And the one where I think is the most telling was the anniversary game of the first ever MLS match between DC United and San Jose, which was held on April 6th, 1995. They replayed it April 6th. Okay. So, and DC United dominated in many of the stats.
Possession, passes.
Except that San Jose scored 6 goals. And so, yeah. And DC United is without a doubt the most singularly lopsided team in terms of dependency on one player. And that player is Christian Benteke. Benteke had
top goal scorer.
Of the 10 shots on frame that DC United have, and think about that. They had 10 shots on frame. San Jose Earthquakes had 10 shots on frame.
Yeah.
So, let's hear it for the San Jose Earthquakes goalkeeper, Danielle, who actually made 9 saves. That by itself is a remarkable number for a goalkeeper. 9 saves is getting you into, legend status.
Mm-hmm.
But the majority of those shots that were on frame, I believe 6 out of the 10 came from Benteke.
Yeah. Wow.
And they were almost all headers. So he has more aerial duels contested as a player than I think half the league have as a team. He literally, his job is to stand there and take the crosses and put them in on frame. That's his job.
He's just the target man, isn't he? Well, I mean, he's an absolute beast, and he's really good at scoring headers as well. He does it a lot.
He could have scored a lot of headers if the keeper hadn't been so good, or his headers had been just maybe a little bit more. Listen, I'm not dissing on Benteke. Yeah. The header is the one goal, is the one move where you really do have the least amount of control in many cases, right? In most cases, you're just trying to physics the damn thing into a different position. And when you do it right, people talk about how brilliant it is. And when you do it wrong, people say how you should have done better. And honestly, given the split seconds that you have to leap, meet the ball, come on, the amount of calculations that have to go into that. It's remarkable that anybody can touch the ball with their head.
This is true. Yeah. Well, it was it was it was a really interesting game as well, particularly as you say for that anniversary of obviously that of the MLS. So we've got
I gotta say, I don't think DC United played poorly.
No,
that's the problem.
Yeah,
it's not like they gave up. It's not like they didn't try. They were pressuring. They just couldn't get the ball in the net.
Just couldn't make it over the
As
line.
we know, that's the name of the game. The ball
That's the name of the game.
in the net.
Yep, indeed. And
Yeah,
so
the only other one that really shocked me, there were two other ones. One of and there was obviously LAFC's losing to Houston Dynamo, which completely baffled me, and as well St. Louis City, who had a really strong opening. Right, they had 2 draws, 2 wins. They just now dropped their 3rd in a row. I would be willing to say that we're talking crisis mode at the club.
Interesting. Okay.
Because they lost to Sporting Kansas City, who
big rivals.
If it wasn't for the existence of the LA Galaxy, would be the worst team in the league.
This is true. Yeah, they're certainly taking some of the stank off them as well. But that's for sure interesting.
That is indeed the fact. So the MLS though was I'd say at least half the games were solid quality fixtures with some really good drama. There were a bunch of snoozers as well, but whatever,
Yeah. No, it's
not all.
It's
not, they can't all be bangers, Gary.
Well, they cannot all be bangers, and when they are, when they are, it's special and it's entertaining. That's for sure. But it's certainly the case. Okay, and then I see that your man crush at Philadelphia, Tyberibo, did not get on the score sheet, although he's still scored 6 goals in 6 games.
That was one of the dud games, right? The Philly Orlando game, boring. Austin Portland,
boring. Yeah, there's 0-0 still draws as well. So yeah,
I mean, even the Atlanta Dallas game, as a game, wasn't particularly exciting. So no, I'm not just talking about the scoreline, because draws can be incredible and 0-0 draws can be incredible. These were not incredible.
They were not too entertaining. Yep, indeed. Okay. So that leaves the MLS. So we've got Columbus. Yeah, Columbus Crew, who are obviously up ahead on obviously the Eastern Conference as well with Miami. There's a good pack there, which is it's making it definitely very, very, very entertaining. As for the Western Conference, that is as I say, that's surprising. That's been a real surprising one, with LA Galaxy being so far down at the bottom and being a part of it as well. It's definitely not.
And I'd love to give a shout out to Minnesota United. There's another club that they changed their coach, right, in the off season. They had a new guy come in, putting together they have two gentlemen up front, right? So they've got 2 players up front that they are relying on. And that is Yeboah, and
Oluwase,
and then Tani Oluwase.
Yeah.
Those 2 players are so fierce. They are blowing the league away in their XG, right? They are that. I don't think Minnesota has played a game where they've had more than 50% possession. They actually actively attempt to not possess the ball. They are playing the classic Leicester game. Stymie, low block, boom,
counterattack, yeah.
And they've got these 2 speedy, brutal guys up front who can mercilessly put the ball in, and they're completely running
Beautiful.
the table over people.
One Nigerian, one Ghanaian, and they're just absolutely going for us as well. They're just speed and power, right? Speed and power.
Yeah.
Okay, interesting.
I mean, they had 27% possession, Gary.
Wow,
27%, and won the game.
Yeah. Interesting. Kelvin Yeboah I was just reading, is the nephew of former Leeds United striker Tony Yeboah, who scored possibly one of the greatest ever goals in the Premier League, if you remember, against Wimbledon when he needed and buried it.
That one I don't remember, Gary. I was probably not as let's just say the BBC didn't get to where I was at that time, or any of the other broadcasters.
Rebecca Lowe and the 2 Robbies were not casting on NBC in the Midwest.
Rebecca Lowe was still in secondary school, man. She was going for her O levels when that one happened.
Indeed. Oh, hilarious, brilliant. Okay, so that leaves So I think on the Western Conference, as I say, if it keeps going at this rate, I mean, San Diego finishing in the top 4 and then getting through, obviously, to the MLS Cup, I think will be nothing short of a really, really impressive season. Vancouver sitting there. Obviously, I expect some of this to change, and I expect some of these teams to pick up some form. I think LAFC, I don't know. I saw this rumor. I don't know. Again, it's really hard to believe what's true until it's actually happened. But apparently, LAFC have signed Paul Pogba, so I don't know if he'll be joining. I don't know how true that was, or whether that was an April Fool's or what that was. But you'd expect that. Yeah, it could have been. But if you'd expect that if you can bring someone in like Pogba as well of his caliber, you'd expect him to sort of be able to add some value at least and do some damage. Obviously,
the only thing that I can say is at least Pogba and Giroud have played together. Okay, they are countrymen, and they have played on the French national team together.
Yes,
because I would normally have thought that when you have a player like Giroud and you have a player like Pogba, that is not going to be an easy mesh, right? They are not. They play different types, different styles. Pogba hasn't been particularly sharp. He is a creative, dangerous player, but he doesn't fit in with the type of style and the type of traditional 9 that Giroud is, which is that target guy who just hangs up, possesses, turns, shoots.
And he sort of lays off striker as well. Like if you remember when he won the World Cup with France, right? He won the World Cup being Kylian Mbappe's strike partner and Griezmann's strike partner.
Absolutely.
Didn't score a single goal, but he set a lot of them up and sort of link up play, right? Yeah, I think.
And no offense to Pogba, he is neither one of those two players.
Well, he's a more of a sort of box-to-box midfielder. I think the difference here is Pogba's probably got something to prove because he was obviously banned for sort of taking a controlled substance, and now he's sort of got that overturned. So you think, again, he's sort of known as a sort of maybe an attitude player and sort of can come with a bit of baggage and a lot of social media noise and stuff like that. I maybe you'll see a slightly more mature and with something to prove perhaps. But
I hope so. I mean, he was when he was in his prime and he was committed. He was a joy to watch.
Oh, he was fantastic.
He was brilliant. I mean, absolutely brilliant.
You don't win a World Cup by not being a good player, that's for sure. Absolutely. Okay, cool. So that's, I think just in terms of wrapping up, that's the MLS covered as well. Yeah. That was, as I say, really, really interesting game week. As I say, definitely keep an eye on Vancouver and San Diego on the West Coast as well. Obviously, also as well, watching the downfall of the LA Galaxy is quite entertaining, I do have to say, but we'll keep tracking that one as well and see what happens. Obviously, the rumor mill will continue to fly as well as players start to announce that they're leaving and see who's going to be coming in. But that will be very interesting. Okay, so Qooligan, that's the MLS. Where do you want to go next? Do you want to do Champions League quarterfinals, or do you want to just maybe touch on the Premier League last game week as well?
Let's just do a brief little touch in on the Premier League because there were some significant significant moments.
Well, I think the most significant moment is your beloved Palace. I mean, winning and having 2 players sent off was entertaining for a neutral, that's for sure.
It was entertaining for a non-neutral as well. I was actually on the streets of Washington, D.C. with my phone in my hand at a farmer's market. And people were looking at me.
I can imagine. Farmers market, not understanding the Crystal Palace connection, and
it was a couple of really 2 bits of history, quirky history. This was the first time in 90 years that Crystal Palace has pulled the double against Brighton. So that's a long time, right?
Yes.
And then the second thing is it is only the second time in Premier League history where a team has won when they had 9 players.
Wow, yeah. And 2 defenders got sent off as well, which was interesting. You'd expect that
No. One was in Nketiah.
Was it? Okay.
You're talking about, no, there was Van der Heck from and I think that was the thing that always that really surprised me was Brighton, their Palace is down to 10 men. They're up. They got 11 on 9, right? So sorry, they were down to 9 men. I misspoke. What the hell is Van der Heck doing getting himself a second yellow?
Yeah. It's the head game, though. It's the head game. What the Van der Heck, I would say. Yeah, what the Van der Heck, because it was good one. But it's mentality. It's just a head game, isn't it? There's a rush of blood to the head and you lose it because rational rational wisdom is be cool. Just be cool.
Well, I also think that on that particular play, the Palace player had the better of him, was running into the box, and he felt that he had to do it. And okay, but I know that his coach afterwards was not pleased.
Yeah,
Like,
I can
seriously,
imagine.
you know,
You did get away with that one.
you
You
don't
really
do
got away
that.
with that one.
You just got a red. Fortunately, Nketiah was on my fantasy team. I lost a lot of points with him, so it goes. But I'm also very pleased that we have the win. Europe is still a mathematical probability. I haven't done the math yet, but I still know that it is probable. It can happen.
You guys have that game in hand. And looking at your form, I mean, you've won the last 4 out of your last 5 games and then drawn the other one. So it's there and a game in hand. So, I mean, there's no reason why you can't get up there with Brighton and then kick on. You still got 7 games of the season to go.
If I was a betting man and I put down some quid on this one, I would probably be buying the next round.
Okay,
but I'm not a betting man, and I didn't put any money on it. But if it happened, I would still sit there and gloat and say, "I told you so."
And you don't buy rounds either, Qooligan, as well. So yeah, so
we can always dream. Whoa! Hey, easy, Tiger. I have never stepped away from a shout. Don't be throwing shade. Don't be throwing shade.
Well, we are there. Well, but as we've discussed, there's also the path through the FA Cup as well. Again, you're in the semi-final of the FA Cup as well, and
yes.
There's two bites of the cherry there, so or bites of the apple, whichever one you want to use.
Anybody who would have talked to me after the 6th game of the season when Palace was in abysmal form,
Just
and
touch
said
and go
that
with
we
you
would
get
be
relegated.
having any of this type of conversation, I would probably say yes. Palace traditionally overperforms in the second half of the season, so there's not much to worry about because this has been a pattern for them for many seasons. But even by Palace standards, this is pretty choice. The team is playing extraordinarily well. There's an energy there. There's a belief, and yeah, it's really wonderful to see. It's great to see.
The only concern I would have if I was in your position, which is, I mean, I think while there's a lot of good young talented players at Palace, Eze is the bright shining star. He is the jewel in the crown, and I think the biggest concern is going to be he's going to get poached. He's going to get taken off you probably at the end of the season. So hopefully
everybody steals from the mid-table teams. This is a fact of life.
This is how it goes.
We know
so
this
you guys
is
have to. Yeah. And and I think the way Brighton have conducted themselves in terms of the business and structured their team and their sort of structure of their academy and youth players has been, well, let's profit from that, particularly Chelsea being the biggest sucker, spending shit tons of money on players that probably aren't worth what they are, but that's the way it goes. I think the other game that jumped out at me for this game week that just finished today was this Newcastle-Leicester game. Obviously, I think it was fairly sort of done and dusted.
Well, that was the killing blow. That was the killing blow on Leicester right there.
Yeah. And so Leicester, now we were just discussing this. We were saying this is their 8th home game in a row where not only have they failed to score, but they've lost consecutively and created a Premier League record for that.
Yeah.
Which was
it's a bad record. It's a bad record to have.
Yeah, it is. And then to add even more insult to injury is they brought on a 15-year-old. Leicester did as well. Did you see this?
I did not see this. No.
Yeah, Leicester
really?
City brought on a 15-year-old to basically just to sort of essentially, well, they're hoping that would be the answer to their solutions or their solution to their problems, and unfortunately, it was not. So
wow.
Yeah. That was pretty bad. And then the other one as well is obviously Southampton obviously confirmed the first team to be officially mathematically relegated. So they are down. And that is also a record as well, because that is the earliest point in any season that the team has been relegated. So there has been no team that have been as bad as Southampton have in the Premier League or in the league ever. That is how bad they have been.
But they haven't out Derby yet, right?
They have not out Derby just yet.
That's coming.
Well, we'll see what happens.
They still managed to beat Derby in a couple of things, so I suppose there's that.
Mm-hmm. So that's a bad one. Yeah, they just didn't.
That is a bad one, and it's funny because Southampton. Traditionally let's not waste words on them. They're like you said, they're done. They're cooked. Flip them over.
Yeah,
slap some barbecue sauce on them.
That's it, and send someone else up next season, right? That's how it goes. Chelsea Brentford was the most boring, dull affair ever. Chelsea have got to go and spend some money on the weekend.
I heard it could put people to sleep just being in the proximity of the stream.
It was just awful, just awful. They're just striking situation. They had Nkunku, just didn't look like he wanted to be there. He's probably going to get sold in the season at the end of the season. He came off at halftime. Jackson came on, didn't look the part. Cole Palmer's still off the boil, so he wasn't looking too good. And then of course we had Everton hosting Arsenal. Again, Arsenal is just the only thing they've really got to play for is the Champions League, and they've got Real Madrid coming up, and we'll talk about that in a second. But David, I saw this wonderful clip of David Moyes giving Mikel Arteta his Premier League debut when he signed him for Everton. And so there was this wonderful moment where you had Arteta, now the manager of Arsenal, going back and obviously playing against Moyes, who is back at Everton for the third time. That was quite a wonderful bit of sort of poetry going on there. You see that, yeah. Forest lost to Villa, which was kind of a rarity. You can see that probably running out of steam a little bit as well. So I hope they can hold on, and I hope that they can stay in the top 4 or 5 and get Champions League football for next season, because that would be a wonderful fairy tale story. Any other games and Premier League? I know we covered most of them as well. There was the Manchester derby, which was also dull.
No,
that was also boring.
We could waste breath on Tottenham, but I don't think it's worth it.
Sort of.
I'm telling you, as a fan of that club, you've got to be wondering what the hell.
I think there were a lot of protests about, and it wasn't about get Ange Postecoglou out, it was get Daniel Levy out, because the mentality is not one of a winner, it's one of let's make some profits and sort of run this club well. So yeah. Okay.
I mean, no. Listen, we have to mention that Liverpool lost to Fulham. That was an incredible hiccup on their part. It's a rare one. Does it mean anything? No, I really don't think so.
Especially
it's disappointing with Arsenal for them.
Especially with Arsenal drawing as well. So
and then Forest losing. No, with all of those. And Chelsea also drawing. I mean, it was as good of a time to have a mental fart and an on-field snafu.
Yeah, and
they did. And Fulham took advantage in that short period of time, and they put a couple up, and then they just dug in their heels and they resisted. And Liverpool didn't give up; they kept fighting. It's good for them, but no, it was done. And that derby, that Manchester derby, very. If it wasn't for the Chelsea-Brentford game, that would have been the worst game of the lot. But
what is going on over there?
Your boys in blue managed to outduel the Manchester derby. So
do you know? I was thinking about this, and again, not to sort of dwell on Chelsea too much. I mean, technically, it's been a really bad season. However, they're sitting in 4th. They're still in the European competition, and then they've got a World Club Cup coming up as well. So there could be a world in which you could get Champions League football and win a European trophy. I think we'll see. But again, it definitely hasn't felt like poetic and sort of entertaining football. That's for sure. It's definitely very dull.
It's not been a pretty season.
Yeah,
but I would not go so far as to say it's been an unsuccessful season.
No.
You know what I mean?
It could be the best one under the
sometimes the ugly wins, and as we all know, the ugly wins are sometimes the best wins. But this is more like, this could be just one of those ugly seasons that has a silver lining.
I think that's exactly it, right? That's exactly it. Okay, and then all right, I think that covers pretty much the Premier League, and then
let's go to this Champions League thing,
and then we've got this Champions League thing as well, which obviously I know we're sort of whittling down obviously regular suspects, and in fact, the only ones I would say would be Aston Villa would be the surprise appearance there. Obviously, I didn't expect to see Aston Villa there. And interestingly, you've got Marcus Asensio, who's suddenly sort of found quite a bit of vein of form for Villa, suddenly going back and playing against his parent club. So that will be interesting to see how he performs and whether he wants to go and
I do think that. Oh my God, I can't even. I'm spacing on his name, but Villa's manager.
Oh yes, Unai Emery.
Thank you. You're going to help me out with that one. Unai Emery has done a very fine job of balancing that club out, because if you notice, they beat Forest, but they didn't start their usual group, right? So Daniel Malen, their new signing from Borussia, is not on the roster for the Champions League. So he's not going to be playing in this match. He started against Forest, got a goal, which is good for him. But so I think this Villa team is showing the importance of true team dedication, where you're really not in it just for you. The manager has a plan. He's got a theory. He knows how he wants to approach these things, and you are just the magnet that goes on the board that day. It's nothing
That's
personal.
it.
It's just the way it goes.
Just get onto it, yeah.
And if they can get a trophy out of it, any trophy out of it, or even a ticket to European competition later on, I think that will have absolutely proven what a competent manager that guy is.
And again, they're still in it, obviously, against your beloved Palace on obviously the FA Cup semi-final as well. So
I'm afraid to say that's where it will end. It's nothing personal, right? Sorry, Birmingham, but yeah, sorry, Birmingham, you're going down.
Yeah.
London's time. South London's time to shine.
Southampton time to shine indeed. Okay, so you've got just so while we're on that one, any thoughts on PSG Villa? Any results? Again, this is the first leg. Obviously, it's sometimes these can be a little bit tight, and then they open up in the second leg.
I really genuinely think Villa goes in a much more in a conservative mindset, and they're going to have to. They're going to be looking to absorb and counter. They want to hit PSG hard. They know. And they've got to be really mindful of that Dembele factor, right?
Yep,
I mean, he's just so good.
He's really good.
He's so slippery. And I think that's the best, other than Dembele, one of the best things that you can say about PSG is that you can hardly name anybody else.
Well, they have that one player whose name I cannot pronounce, that Georgian player that they signed from Napoli, that you know which one I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know which one I mean. He does look very good.
He is very good. And he is very good. But even I think as opposed to the PSG teams of the last decade, where it was about signing these A-lister types.
Galactico style approach.
Thank you. Galactico style, like to steal from the Real Madrid, playbook and the Barcelona playbook. Yes. That's what it was all about.
Yeah.
And I think they've realized that's not the way you win. You go in and you build chemistry. You find great role players for specific things that you want, and you let them do their thing, and that's where they're getting their success. So, I'd like to think. I think PSG could pull it out. If I had to put a score on it, I'd say 2-1 PSG.
I think I agree with you. I think PSG also just got sort of confirmed as Ligue 1 winners as well. Obviously, no surprise. Obviously, so they're just.
Well, then they got nothing. I mean, then they're fully focused on it.
Exactly. Absolutely. So this is it. This will be the next one. So so I think I agree with you. Villa have got a real test there, and I agree exactly. They're going to have to play a low block and play for the counter attacking. The good news is they've got Rashford up front, who can obviously play with some pace, obviously as well, and they've got Asensio in there as well, and then
Watkins still around?
Ollie Watkins as well. Yeah, no, I think Ollie Watkins is there as well. So they've got firepower, and they can they can do some damage. Yep. Okay. And then just looking around as well, and then of course, as we discussed, the other English team in the Premier League, Arsenal, against Real Madrid. I know this is at Arsenal. I know. Yeah. I just Arsenal just don't stand a chance here. I'm sorry. I think Real just go over there, comfortably beat them 2-0, take them back to their place, and then get another 2-3-0, and maybe they'll get a goal or two. But I don't see Arsenal beating Real Madrid here.
Yeah, I think you're right. I do. I know. It's a shock, ladies and gentlemen. But no, I don't see. I really don't see a different outcome coming out of this. No.
Yeah.
I do think, though, that if Arsenal can hit hard and fast and land, to use a boxing analogy, if they could put in a couple of good haymakers and get a couple of connections in and start getting Real wobbly, they might be able to grab one.
Yeah.
But I don't think even if they manage to come out of this specific fixture with a win by a goal, I don't think it matters, because I think that when the Real goes back to their house, they're toast.
Yeah, there's just too much pedigree and sort of confidence and belief in their own sort of structure as well. I do, again, the other concern I have is just where are the goals going to come from for Arsenal? Again, I think this is also another big problem with all
It's
of
true.
their injuries. Now, it will, to be fair though, if we are being truly objective, I did see that I think Real Madrid have 5 players unavailable either through injury or suspension. Not obviously any of the superstars, Mbappe, Vinicius, Rodrigo are all there, but it's like Tchouaméni, I think Valverde, and there was a couple of others that I saw as well. So again, they're I'm not going to cry for them.
That is an X factor, actually, and that's a big X factor, because while those stars are important, it's the spine and the rest of that team that enable those stars to play with the freedom that they need in order to truly succeed.
Yeah, this is true.
Right?
This is true. Yeah.
So if they're on the defensive foot, because let's be honest, Vinicius is not the best defender. He does not like to come back and defend, right? And neither does Mbappe. Neither one of those guys is known for really rolling up their sleeves and dropping back fast in order to
and sort of defend as well. Yeah. And so it is the sort of the as you say, the foundations, the cart horses, the Carvajal, Militao, Ferland Mendy. I'm just looking at, and then Tchouaméni, who I'm a big fan of. I really do like him. He's out actually.
Tchouaméni's great.
Tchouaméni's very good, but he's suspended actually for disciplinary, and then the rest have all got hamstrings or cruciate issues. So
there you go.
So if there is any hope, Arsenal fans, that is it, and we'll have to see what happens and shakes up there. Okay, so we've essentially got 2 English teams. You've got 1 French team. You've got 2 Spanish teams, 2 German teams, and then 1 Italian team still remaining as well.
Yeah, I mean, the Bayern Inter matchup is fascinating.
It is a good one, isn't it?
It is a good one, because you're talking about, Inter is just that. I've liked them. I've called them out in previous pods as being the sleeper team in this competition.
Yeah.
They're mainly due to their consistency. They're not flashy. They're not fancy, but they get the job done. And Bayern can run hot, can run cold. You never know. If Elise and Kane are hot, forget it. They're done.
Yeah.
Because even they can break down the storied Inter defense, particularly at home. But no, I have to say this one is as close as a toss-up as I can think of. Right? I really don't know who could win this.
It is
a lot will happen. A lot will depend on this first game.
Yeah, I agree with you. It is, but it's almost as if you've got a really good defense in Inter, who are traditionally always very good defenders, and then obviously you've got really good attackers as well. So I think this is going to be probably one of the closer ones, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, it should be great.
Yeah. Yeah, I do. But I do wonder but again, Inter sort of running away with the league as well. They've only lost 3 games this season as well. So, they haven't got it locked up. But again, to get this deep into the Champions League, I think they're going to be difficult to beat. They're going to be difficult to beat, but so are also Bayern. So that's going to be a good one. And then the final one, Qooligan, wrapping it up, Barcelona, Dortmund. These are sort of 2 of probably my favorite sort of teams that I follow, but I do enjoy watching them. I think I really do like Dortmund, but I just don't think the form Barcelona end as well.
No, I'm sorry. Their journey ends here.
Yeah, I think so. With Lamal, and then obviously Lewandowski going back to his old club as well, and then of course, who's the other third one? Rafinha as well, who's been in incredible form. It's just amazed he didn't perform like that at Leeds when he was there, obviously a few seasons ago. But yeah, I think Barcelona probably edged this through. So that leaves
I will say though, Rafinha showed the sparks of it. You could see it occasionally. He just didn't have a system with which he could express himself freely.
Yeah, this is fair. This is well, that's it.
But no, I think I mean I hate to say it. The yellow and black army, you're it's not gonna
Yeah,
work for you.
the yellow ball, right? Yeah, exactly. But yeah, just going back to Rafinha, maybe sort of the diet that he had while he was living in Leeds versus having the tapas in Barcelona in Las Ramblas is maybe a little bit different as well, and maybe that has an effect on it, right? So can you imagine the life of a soccer player like that? You know, it's like Kevin De Bruyne lives in Manchester, and it's like, hey, you can come and live in San Diego now if you like, and we'll give you a piece of the club. Sure, that sounds like a good deal, kids. Pack your bags, wife and kids, we're moving, right? It can change, hey.
I hope he likes Mexican.
I hope he does
I
too.
hope he likes fish tacos, man, because that is
delicious.
They're
delicious,
so good.
Yeah.
They're so good down there.
Delicious, wonderful. So that leaves, if we were to sort of just forecast a little bit going into, look at that, timing is perfectly. Wow, look at that, just in time as your beer comes to an end. So we suspect Real Madrid going through, and then we'll probably be playing PSG, we suspect, because you think PSG will beat Villa. And then we think Barcelona go through against Dortmund, and then it's either Bayern or Inter, which is probably the closest to call. Oh,
that I don't know. That one's a little.
That's the unknown.
It's a real unknown.
That's the unknown, isn't it?
It's a real unknown. Yeah.
But again, how many times have we made these predictions and they've been stone wrong as well? Completely, sort of, absolutely got them horribly wrong. So you never know. I think
true. You've been wrong a lot.
I have been wrong a lot. I agree with you. I mean, my deep pick was Bayern Leverkusen. We're going to go deep and go into this championship going deep, and they did not do that against Bayern.
I'm glad you brought that up and not me, because I would have felt bad.
I own them. That's okay. You got to put yourself out there and own them.
Gotta own your mistakes.
The only upset that I could potentially see is Villa. But again, they're going to have to turn it on. They're going to have to, as you say, get some haymakers in there. And they got
to strike super fast. If they're not up by a goal within 20 minutes, I think they're seeing. Yeah, that's it.
They're going to get ground down. Yeah, PSG just had too much quality. They really do. Yeah. Wonderful. And then also we have the CONCACAF second round, obviously sort of knockout phase. It's CONCACAF Cup, which is obviously coming up, as you say, tomorrow as well. So you've got Miami against LA, obviously in is it CONCACAF Champions League, right? Yeah, that's Champions Cup. That's what
Champions Cup.
Yeah, the Champions Cup. So you've got Inter against Inter Miami against LAFC.
Inter LAFC. Actually, tomorrow, to be clear, tomorrow is Tigres and LA Galaxy.
Yeah.
So Galaxy's still alive in the cup. Nobody knows how.
That won't save their season.
And then you've got Cruz Azul against America. Now, in the cup, this is the second leg. So this is the deciding one. Tigres and Galaxy are tied. Cruz Azul and America are tied. Miami and LAFC. LAFC's got a 1-0 lead over Inter. And then the last one is Pumas against Vancouver Whitecaps, and they are also tied. So there's 4 games with a lot on the line. And some of these may be broadcast on Fox.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
because Fox does own this, but that would probably only be the LA Galaxy and the Inter Miami, because they tend to not broadcast unless there's a U.S. team involved.
Of course, yeah. Okay. And then, I mean, Vancouver obviously riding high on the Western Conference as well. I mean, they're in fine form as well, so you'd expect them to go through.
Yeah, surprisingly, and historically, teams that advance inside the CONCACAF Cup don't always perform well within the domestic league. That's been a trend. Okay. And Galaxy are certainly living up to that reputation. Yeah. But Inter and Vancouver are bucking that trend. So maybe this could be a slight deviation from the norm.
And I'm gonna put my neck out there and risk it. Am I correct in understanding that no MLS team has ever won the CONCACAF Champions Cup? Is that correct?
Normally wrong. Seattle Sounders won.
They did.
That is how they are. That is how they qualified for the World Club Cup.
Okay,
got it. They won 2 years ago. Yeah.
Got it. Okay. Still learning it. Speaking of the World Club Cup, did you see this rumor that because who is it who got sort of been deemed ineligible because
there were 2 teams from Mexico owned by the same conglomerate? They want to have a playoff between America and LAFC. Yes, I did hear about that.
And so LAFC getting into the World Club Cup as well, you can see again the dark arts of the politicians moving that around, having that in. That's FIFA's dark arts getting it again.
So fascinating that they pick LAFC for that. But it does make sense because they do actually have a mathematical formula for calculating a team's value vis-a-vis qualifications. I don't want to listen. I'm the first person who's going to poop on FIFA, Gary. You know that. But they do attempt to at least have some sort of system behind it, and some sort of mathematics behind it. And so I think LAFC does make logical sense. But certainly more than anybody else.
Yeah.
I mean, like if they were to say, oh, we're going to give it to San Diego FC, people would be like, oh, sure, they're the new club. They just paid a ton of money and like a blah, blah. No, that's not it.
You've got to earn your way in there. You have to.
You do have to earn your way in. Okay. So, but yeah, no, it makes sense. It's good.
Wonderful. So a busy week of sports, obviously, as I say, Masters Grand Prix for me that I'm following as well. And of course, all of the soccer going on as well, both sides of the continent as well. So we've got lots to write about, lots to podcast about, lots to sort of, just so much. It's wonderful. It really is wonderful. Well, Qooligan, until then, we'll catch up at the end of the week, obviously, before this upcoming weekend fixtures as well. So until then, thank you very much. Speak to you later.
Peace.